What's going on, guys? Today's video is a little bit different than usual. As you can tell, I'm going to talk to y'all while I make a cup of coffee here. I don't know exactly what I want to make today's video about. Just been going through a lot, and I've been also extremely blessed in a lot of ways, but just trying to figure out what a lot of these tests mean that I've been going through, and trying to figure out how to become the person that I want to become through the test, and how to just be a better person because of them. But yeah, it's pretty hard sometimes. Pretty hard to do that, especially when you don't know exactly what the test even could be for in the first place. So that's what I'm navigating through right now. I wish I had a viewership, an audience of people that communicated with me in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate, I think one of my friends comments every now and then, and my mom comments a lot of the time, which is great, and I appreciate it. But it'd be nice to have maybe a person or two that can relay what they're going through and allow me to be able to actually make videos off that. This is 235 videos in a row or something like that. And I've never really had that more than once or twice through, nearly 300 videos now. And it's just, it's aggravating, but more than anything, it's just, I don't know. I guess a lot of the time it takes doing something consistently without seeing results in the moment, and then still staying consistent and being resilient regardless of, seeing the exact outcome that you've been praying for. So I don't know, if you are watching this and you feel like you've been going through anything relatively similar, I'm gonna move the camera a little bit. If you've been going through anything relatively similar, then I'd love to hear what you're going through and how you've been dealing with it. And maybe actually start to build a bit of a community here on this channel and some sort of conversations that we can have. And I don't know, that'd be cool, I guess. But yeah, like I said, I've just been going through some stuff. I've also been, like I said, extremely blessed in a lot of ways. So it's hard to navigate feeling both like a lot of things are going right and then a lot of things are going wrong at the same time. I'm just trying to trust God through the things that don't make sense, which is kind of life right now. It doesn't make the most sense, but that's okay, I've also been dealing with lately the fact that I've kind of had the realization that God doesn't want you to just rely on his plan. He doesn't want you to just say, oh, God's will, and then, whatever is meant to happen will happen. It's more so you have to have the realization that God's will doesn't always happen, and it doesn't happen majority of the time. I don't think it's God's will for a lot of people or any people in general to go to hell. I don't think it's God's plan for bad things on earth to happen. I don't think it's God's plan for basically anything to go wrong. And that kind of gave me the realization that whenever things go wrong in my life, it's not a part of God's plan. It's something that I'm doing wrong. It's something that I'm not taking accountability for, and I'm kind of putting it to the side. And I think it's almost like a coping mechanism that a lot of Christians have developed, where they say, I'm just trusting God's plan. I'm just trusting God's will, and whatever happens is meant to happen. You know what I mean? But I feel like we have free will. I don't feel that way. We do have free will, and God created us to have free will so we can actually have control over our lives, and the outcomes are usually created from ourselves. So with that being said, I'm trying to take more control of my life and have a routine that kind of encapsulates becoming the type of man that I want to become. And I guess that means, like I said, realizing that I don't really have, I need to stop making excuses with basically everything. You know what I mean? Obviously, there are things that you can't control that happen in life, and that can be things that people do to you or things that are just, like I said, out of your control. And that's where I think that trusting God and God's will comes into play, because if you're doing things that you're supposed to be doing, if you're doing the right thing that is aligned with his will and his word, that's when I think that trusting God and truly trusting his will comes into play more so than just living life and going, through the motions and saying, oh, I trust God's will, I trust God's plan. That doesn't really make much sense. So I'm trying to trust God's will, but in the same sense, also take control of my life from the aspect of becoming the man that I know I'm capable of becoming, creating friendships that I know I'm capable of creating, and doing things with the intention of having the right intention. So that's the message. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully somebody will comment on this video and we can build some community a little bit. As always, have a blessed one. Thank you all so much for watching.